So story time, human connection, meeting other people. I think people are spending way too much fucking time on smartphones and social media these days. And I know that's sort of one of these things that people go on about, but I'm guilty of the same thing. It's weird, like in the first year that I was in Tokyo, I didn't even have a cell phone. I had one when I arrived. It was just a Samsung Galaxy thing. But I think that a bit of water got into it and the thing fried, and so I was basically off the grid. And I did that whole thing, which was like, I had a little book with people's phone numbers, and I would ring people from the phones in the train stations in Tokyo. That was kind of the way I rolled. Or I just kind of would make a time and a date and would meet up, and if you didn't come, I would just keep waiting, and I'd give you 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then I'd leave, and, there was no rescheduling shit. The day that we meet, the time, the date, that's it. It's set in stone. And I've done that 2 or 3 times now, where I've just kind of been like, yep, no, I've had enough of all of this, and I've sort of just turned away from it. And it's funny because all of this stuff that I've been doing online, posting my photographs and that, it all started off after I kind of came out of one of those phases, and I wasn't really ready for anyone to see my stuff, and I didn't care either way. And it's funny how that changes. It's funny how you let yourself get swayed by what's out there, and it's like this powerful tide of popular opinion on what you should be doing. And I think that's one of the things I've always been conscious of, is kind of staying true to the artwork, staying true to the people out there like yourselves who appreciate the work and what goes on behind the work, and kind of being true to yourself, right? And I just kind of been thinking, lately we've been reaching this peak social media thing, and it's like, what good is that doing for us, and how is it empowering our artwork and what we do as creative human beings? I'm sort of beginning to sort of think, well, it's not really doing much, and I don't know where things are going with that, but one thing I would say is that you got to stay true to what you do, and the core concept behind everything I've done for the last 4 or 5 years has been wandering, exploration, a cool and considered approach to seeing the world. I liken it to a black and white film, or a jazz bar in Kokobunji where everyone's sitting around and it's dark and there's a record playing, and the old lady, she's doing gin and tonics, and you're just kind of having a good talk with an old friend over a cigarette. That's sort of the way that I see my process. And when you let that style get cramped by kind of what's going on in the world and socially, what's kind of trending, hashtag whatever, it's like, man, you're not going to be able to create the thing that people are looking for, right? Let alone what you're looking for. And so I think that's kind of where, in a sense, Future Cities came from, because, I don't know if you guys know, but, we call this thing Future Cities, but really what it started out as was myself and Ruben. We were just like, man, we're in Tokyo, and we wanted a place where we could jam on some stuff together. And back in the old days, and decades ago, you'd go around to a friend's place and you kind of jam, whether you were doing a band or doing some computer stuff, whatever it was. You'd kind of turn up and you make some stuff, right? There's kind of the cool cats doing that thing. But in Tokyo, no one does that. You don't go to people's houses, really. It's not really a thing, just because places are so small and whatever. But we were like, well, what if we could find a third way? What if we could find a venue where we can bring our stuff and we can jam there and kind of have people come around, have a few drinks, whatever, and make some stuff, kind of cool cats, underground jazz bar sort of style, but we're doing 3D computer whatever. And that's kind of where it came from. And we were just like, all right, you, me, a couple of computers, a couple of projectors, and we'll jam on some stuff. And then I got in with Simon, SJF and his music and the soundscapes, and we were like, all right, this is it. This is the three of us. And it was really, at first it was just an idea for us to jam on some stuff, and we kind of took it quite seriously. We ended up doing a couple of jam sessions before the actual show and working on some stuff, and that's where Future Cities all kind of, along with a bunch of other stuff, it's where it kind of came from. It was the magic mixture that built this thing, it's like the soup. But the core of it was bringing creative human beings together, getting people in the room who are passionate, creative, innovative, cool cats, people you can have a chat with, who you can share a beer with, who you can share a laugh with. That's kind of the requirements, right? And even if you don't drink, at least a glass of water is good enough. But can you have a laugh? Can you chill out? Can you have a good time? That's kind of the basis. And then let's go and create some stuff. Let's have a bit of an idea. Let's have a concept. Let's, be reckless and stay up all night making it happen. That's kind of the attitude that we were looking for, because when you're commercialized and you're imagized and you're showing your stuff and you're mediatized, whatever, you're showing your stuff on this platform and everything's just, flying past your finger at, a million miles an hour, you're kind of making yourself into a commodity, right? And there's this word that I hate. It starts with a C and it's called content. This idea of, content creators and content. It's like, man, what does that even mean? Is that what we're doing? Is that what I'm doing? I don't think so. Content is a naughty word, and we're going to cross that off our list. Okay, what we're looking at is we're creating artwork, we're creating experiences, we're creating connections between people. There's a lot of other stuff out there that starts with C that's good, right? But content is not one of them. And so this idea of commoditization of your work and of your artwork through social media and through kind of these apps and stuff, it's like, man, they have their good side, but they also have their bad side. And of course, you can get exposure, you can reach new audiences, you can make new stuff happen through these platforms. But at the same time, if you're not careful, you can let the platform itself consume you, and then you just become another number. And I think that's kind of a changing thing, not just for these apps and stuff, but for the internet as a whole. I think there's been a big freezing effect kind of over the last few years as people kind of slowly start realizing that, man, stuff that you do and say on the internet, it kind of stays there and it can be taken out of context. It can be taken the wrong way. Even if it's like none of that sort of bad stuff, if it's just kind of, a bit of banter that would otherwise be perfectly fine with anybody, any sane human being, if you were in the room, would be okay with it. But when it gets kind of put out of context and when things start falling apart, everyone starts just being like, whoa, we can't say anything, we can't do anything. And so we start having to brand ourselves and sort of censor ourselves and kind of let our artwork just sort of be behind the scenes, it's just sort of sitting there waiting to be done. And I think that's a big problem that's kind of out there. And I think people in about 10 years are going to look back and be like, well, why did we do that? Why did we even bother? And that's why I'm kind of flipping the coin on it and saying, well, you internet people, I love you all. But what we're going to do is we're going to get you into a room in the same place, in the same city somewhere, or we're going to go out and we're going to shoot photos somewhere, sometime, and it's going to be me and you and some other people, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a chat. We're going to take some photos, and we're going to be humans again. We're going to be not just fucking usernames, but we're going to be, we're going to have a connection, and that's something that I really value. And it's kind of, going back to the basics, right? It's where I met a lot of people in the early days when this whole thing was taking off, and it's like, man, the platform is an entryway to meeting someone, but once you meet them for real and you go for a shoot and you go for a wander, you go climb a mountain, do whatever you do, and it's like that's human connections. That's kind of what I'm looking to do a bit more of, I think, moving forward, is get away from the machine and get back into the world. And I think it's been good for a while. I've kind of been sharpening the sword a little bit, sharpening the axe. with some of the stuff that I'm doing, but man, I can't wait to get back to Tokyo and start spending a bit more time with people. I can't wait to go and travel a bit more and meet a few more, meet more people, because for me, each time I go out somewhere, good or bad, whatever the fuck happens, it's like, man, I'm meeting humans, I'm meeting my brothers and sisters out there, and everyone's just living their lives, and that's just fantastic. That just puts a smile on my face to be able to walk through the streets of some city, wherever it is. There's people selling stuff on the streets or whatever. There's food, there's restaurants, there's people going to and fro. These people are living their lives, and man, that makes me feel good, because it's like we're all alive. We're all here. We're on this planet. We're doing this thing. And I'm happy from time to time we meet up with some of these cool people and we do some stuff, It's when you start mediating stuff behind a screen, behind a username, behind a feed of content, that's when you start running into trouble with kind of marginalizing people and stereotyping people and putting people into boxes that you don't even know, right? And so I'm kind of always keen for that thing to take things offline, and that's why I wanted to make the magazine. I wanted to make Wanderer, offline, physical, an artifact, something that we can connect over, that I can send to you, and you can read that. And in the stories, I always try and meet with local people. I always try to get a bit of context and kind of reach out to somebody and wander the streets together and have the conversation, have a human connection. And that's kind of where all of this stuff came from. It's about humans and places, right? And I think I want to do a bit more of that. I want to take that idea a bit further, and I think it's the idea that needs to be taken further. I think now's the time for it. I think we're branding ourselves so much and taking it out of context. It's just you're this more than ever. We're these avatars of ourselves, and it's like, man, that's not a place where human connection happens. And coming back, again, this stuff, it's all connected in a high level. Coming back to New Zealand and spending time here and sitting around the fire, in the living room and having a conversation with people, and it's like, man, there's stories out there, there's moments out there, there's things that you're never going to get to through a message or through an email or through a LinkedIn profile or a Twitter account. Okay, there's stuff out there that's only going to happen with humans in the same room. Humans in the same place, trading ideas, trading stories, inspiring each other, being good to each other, sharing the good stuff, and that's kind of, that attitude, the good stuff of the positive energy, the kind of the idea that it's all good, the naturally the good nature of people. Which I constantly am reminded of. It's something that I'm always looking for. I'm always happy when I come across it again, because I know it's there. It's the good nature of human beings. The creative human beings, your friends, your brothers, your sisters. It's all out there. And I look for it. And I find it. And it's kind of how would you say? It's part of it, the buildings and the wanderings. That's one aspect, but really it's about people and these moments, right? And coming back to that thing, it's like these moments I've had, whether it's Hong Kong, whether it's Taiwan or Tokyo, it's this moment where you're with someone and you're sharing something, and it's not through a digital screen, it's not through a device. And that's what I'm looking for more of. So hopefully, if any of you guys are ever around, we can meet up and have the conversation, share a beer or a water or whatever it is we do, whether it's, get a coffee or take some photos or do whatever, put it out there, have a good time. Be human, be good to each other, make some stuff happen. I'm going to leave it at that, but hopefully you guys have a good night. I'm just looking out over some stars here. It's a very beautiful, clear winter night here in the southern hemisphere. Very soon I'm going to be back in Tokyo, back to a mega city, but no matter what, we're going to stay human and we're going to stay good to each other. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.